Hello friends, welcome to Exampur. I hope my voice is audible clearly. Screen visible है सभी को? Just let me know everything is set or not. I'll continue with the session. So continue करते हैं आज का session. We are going to study regarding the sectoral transformation of the country. How much every sector is occupying in the Indian economy. We are going to study the perspective in detail basis. So in order to know about the particular sector, we are going to discuss every sector in detail. First of all, initially, we are going to deal with the agriculture sector. How come this sector considered to be a very prominent part in the economy, in the Indian economy? Okay, thank you so much, Aman, for just letting me know. In agriculture sector and the services sector and industrial basis, how come we are exploring ourselves in the global scenario? We have to make the consideration of following considerations. So we are going to start with the agriculture sector. And what is that agriculture sector? Why this play a vital role in the economy? It plays a vital role in the Indian economy, occupy the 70% employment basis. Like it generate approximately 60 to 70% employment in the Indian economy. Especially we can make the consideration of the rural economy. Rural economy is more or less so much dependent on the agriculture sector, as person or the majority population is considered to be the semi-skilled part, semi-skilled basis. So we need to know about the resources. What are the characteristics? Like if we have to make the exploration of our resources, what are those resources? I am talking about labor force. We need to first conduct ourselves into the analysis that what type of resources we do have and what kind of consideration we can make into it. Like if we do have skilled bases, we need to indulge those labor resources in the service part. But as we are aware about the fact that our economy do possess majority of the semi-skilled labor, which could make which can be included in the agriculture sector or in the manufacturing and industrial sector. It absorbs a majority population. This sector absorbs a majority population but contributes a lesser prospect towards the GDP stratum. So in order to know more about it, why we are so much dependent in the on the agriculture sector, that is due to the employment basis creation. Number two, as this is very important part in the Indian economy, contributes about 17%. You can figure it out. It is contributing approximately 16 to 70% in the GDP, still making contribution of approximate 60 to 70% in the entire employment generation. Next point is all about impressive growth only be considered. If I do make the consideration of the current scenario, what kind of current scenario we do occupy, we are considering the growth perspective nowadays as the headline. What is headline growth? You need to know about the headline growth. We are considering the headline growth. What is growth? First of all, growth is a kind of prospective signal or progressive indicator for any economy. You can consider it as this is a kind of indicator for prosperity only if it generates employment employment. In current scenario, in today's time, what we are considering the headline growth, because it is not making any contribution in the employment basis, but continue to raise the level of income. Like if our income was 100 rupees in the last year, it has continued to make the upliftment in the income level to 120 without making any upliftment in the employment generation. That is what we are talking about here. Headline, we consider this when growth does not get along with employment perspectives. Now you can ask the question about why I am just telling you about the growth perspective. This is the current basis. You can just heard about the growth perspective nowadays, that growth is not getting along with the perspective of employment. If you are expanding the base for the agriculture sector, be it by forming or by formulating the technological upgradation, or you can just explore the industrial basis. If you are exploring any one of the sector, it is going to generate the employment basis that is going to make upliftment in the growth. That could be considered as the prosperity signal. But if you are only increasing or uplifting the employment or the growth basis without making the inclusion of income, like if you are looking at if income is increasing without the employment, it would not be considered as prosperity signal. Prosperity signal or indicator, you can consider it as. Yeah, that is what I am talking about is like in agriculture sector, what we are continuously talking about. Why I am just considering on the word growth perspective, because in today's time, what we are continuously basically focused on the growth perspective. Is it making any way contribution towards the life of common people? No, because it is not making the employment generation. If it is not making any kind of employment generation, it would be considered as the headline growth, as it is not making the prosperous lifestyles or prosperous pattern for the common people. Then if it is making any kind of standard of living upliftment, then only it would be considered as the prosperity signal. Suppose if you have been asked about any country, that what kind of conditional basis is there for the single country, like be it about USA, what you are going to look at in the very first step, in the very first spot, you are going to look at the income criteria and the growth perspective. If it is rising so good, if it is rising on a good pace, then you can make a perspective regarding the prosperous scenario, just because you have seen the growth perspective. But if you are not getting along, if the growth perspective is not getting along with the employment perspective, it would no more be considered as the prosperity or the standard of living signal. Getting my point? That is why I am just continuously talking about the agriculture sector, as Aman is mentioning, or I am just talking about the average scenario. In the last 5 to 6 years, continuously it is making contribution in 16 to 17%. 16 to 17% if it is making an contribution in the GDP, but still it is contributing 60 to 70%. 60 to 70% in order to be exact figure in the entire economy. 49 to 50% dependency of the employment is on the agricultural sector. If this is so, then also it is contributing more than 3 times of its capacity towards the employment generation, which has not been fulfilled by other sector, and contributing more than enough in the GDP proportion. You can take the example for the service sector. Next point you can take it as, next point, food grain has increased. You just do not have to just focus on the facts. I just want to prepare a kind of a blueprint in the mind. If you are so good in food grain, you need to focus on one perspective over here is, you are so good at the production figure. You are already known about it. Your economy is agrarian in nature. Getting my point? Indian economy is agrarian in nature. Means you are so good at production scenario. You can produce large scale of production. Even you are coming under top 10. Under top 10 producer you are considered in the entire global scenario. If this is so, what about the productivity part you need to look at? Next point is, do you have your own market? Yes, you would not require any kind of other market base in order to absorb this production part. Suppose I have produced 100 units. Would I require any other country to sell out my own production? No. This is so in case of Canada, this is so in case of USA, Russia. Why they people are so dependent, or they people are so liberal in the policies? Because they are already aware about the fact that they can produce large production with the help of their technological upgradation. Yes, they can produce large scale production, but they do not have enough market to sell out their own production, which is there in case of us. This is why they are so much dependent on our country. We are also dependent on those countries with respect to the production, because we have a kind of huge market. You are already aware about the fact we do possess more than enough population in our country. We are about to surpass the China's population. That is what you need to first make the consideration about the production, second about the market space, third about market space involve the consumption part, which creates demand. Then what about the productivity part? Getting my point? Share of the agriculture in GDP. Share of the agriculture in GDP increased to 19.9% in 2021 from 17.8. Last time contribution of the agriculture sector in GDP was 20%. In 2000, it is continuously diminishing. It is not so. If we are talking about the production scenario, it is highest ever since independence in 2011 and 12. And we need to know about the basic facts. I have already talked about the production, market space we do possess, what are the consumption scenario, due to which reason we are not exporting much of our supply part. Next point is all about what you need to memorize about the fact. What you need, you should be known about the country. First of all, we are the biggest exporter in the world. If we do talk about the cotton, we are the biggest. India is the biggest exporter in the world. Next point is all about, as I have told you, in the large, like in the country, we are the largest producer among the largest producer of the global scenario. But still we are not exporting much of our production, just because we do possess more market base. We are required to first fulfill the need of the domestic requirements, then only we can go beyond the segment, which has to fulfill the trade scenario. Like India is the largest producer, in these vegetables, and the first state in the world 100% organic farming. Like if you are being said, like you have to go for the Paramparagat Krishi Yojana or the organic farmer, we wouldn't be able to equip the entire public with the help of organic farming. Why is it so? It wouldn't be able to show that much of productivity with respect to noticing on the requirement basis. If we do possess so much of population, in order to equip or in order to accommodate that such a huge population, you need to uplift your productivity part with the time. Yes, we consume more than selling, like sugar, or we can take the example, current example. Sugar is the best example. And like we were about to export the wheat. In the end, or in the last moment, we have denied to send or export the wheat part. We have banned the wheat. Though we are the second largest producer in the entire world and we are in condition to export, but due to the procurement basis and the shortage in the supply, and in fear of getting more and more inflation basis, we have denied to send or denied to export the wheat basis, because we do possess more than enough market in our own country. We are not required to export at least this segment in which people are so much showing the dependence on, or this is considered to be the essential commodity in the country. That is why in case of wheat or the sugar, though we do make export of sugar in the entire world, and wheat, we are also sending the wheat or the exporting the wheat, but that is 1% in the proportion in comparison to, or if we look at our total production. Getting my point? See, you can talk about wheat over here. In case of wheat, what is the segment or what is the condition in the entire world? If we do talk about wheat, we are the second largest. You need to know the current updates regarding the particular crops or agrarian pattern, no? So, wheat is the second largest producer. So, are you in that condition to make the export towards the countries which are in need due to the crisis occurred in the Ukraine and Russia? You are already known about the fact. Getting my point? And second largest, but still India export less than 1% in the global scenario. Number 2, Russia is the topmost. Yes, you can ask Virendra. China is the top production. Yes, producer of the wheat you can talk about. Second, you need to notice on this segment. First is all about Russia. Second is all about USA. Third is all about Canada. And fourth is all about France. Fifth is all about Ukraine. These are the top 5 countries making export globally. You can look at the condition of these countries. Even China is not coming under this list. You may be aware about this segment. Just because China do possess lots of population and wheat is considered to be the essential market, and China has to serve their own public first. This is only the prior condition which has to be followed in the WTO norm. If you are banning some production in which you are showing your bestism or specialization, Only on this basis, if you have to fulfill the requirement of your domestic requirements, then only you can just make the restriction towards the trade scenario. Getting my point? You are not at all allowed to ban any production for the world scenario. This would be considered as the discriminatory practices. But India can give a reason for the segment that why we are not supplying at the time of requirement. To whom this is the requirement, we need to send the wheat production, especially for the African continent, where 25 nations were under the famine condition due to the crisis has been occurred because of Russia and Ukraine crisis. You can just talk about the segment. Getting my point? Like what I'm talking about here is you are already old enough and large enough. You are already large enough in case of production, but you do possess your own market. You have to fulfill the requirement of your own public. That is why you are not making export towards the other nation. Number two, who is playing the major role in case of export of wheat in the world scenario? These are the top 5 nations who is making export of wheat. But due to the invasion of Russia on Ukraine, it has disrupted the global supply of wheat. At the time of this requirement, at the time of need, India was forced by the WTO that India should help the world at the time of requirement. As you are the second largest producer, you are in that condition to serve the countries which are already in famine and hunger. You are in that condition. So please do not make any kind of ban or restriction on the export basis. So India made a kind of excuses, you can say. What kind of excuses? You can take it as India has talked about the procurement basis. Procurement, what do you mean by procurement basis? We were about to expand the base for the production of wheat. We had to serve the countries which are already in famine. If African nations or the 25 countries of Africa were in the crisis, we have to serve. Obviously, this is our moral duty, or this is a kind of opportunity that we have helped such nations at the time of requirement. We could have played the prestigious role in such kind of decorum. But we have not done so just because of we had a kind of excuse, because procurement was about to get over. What do you mean by procurement? We were in intention to expand the production basis for the wheat production. We were about to expand the basis for the wheat production, but we wouldn't be able to do so. Why is it so? Because wheat require approximately 22 to 27. If you have to make the comparison of 20 degrees Celsius to 27 degrees Celsius, but what was the actual condition in case of a climate? That was going beyond the 20 degrees Celsius. This has disrupted the productivity part of the wheat production. So procurement was not enough in order to serve the global basis. First, we are required to fulfill our domestic requirement as per the Indian economy says that we have to fulfill our domestic demand first, then only we can serve the other countries. Number two, if we are getting the shortage in the supply, that is continuously making the uptrend in the inflation basis. Getting my point? Banned export wheat, then why not WTO norm applicable? This is what I'm talking about here, is Aman. This is what I'm talking about. WTO, what is the WTO norm? WTO norm, what is the WTO norm? First you need to understand. You cannot impose any kind of restriction on the trade. ठीक है? Okay? This is the formalized point of view. This is the crux of the WTI segment, WTO segment. But we are allowed, this is not applicable to India just because of one reason or two reasons. You need to give, if I'm asking why you are not doing this work, I've asked you to complete this task. You have proper excuses. India has given two excuses. We do not possess the proper, or we do not possess the procurement basis. Procurement is all about the supply. What do you possess? Procurement is about to get over. Procurement is supply is already short in the Indian economy. Second is all about if there is shortage in supply basis. If there is shortage in supply basis, this is going to raise the price level. This is going to raise the price level. In order to accommodate these two, we have to fulfill the domestic requirement. We have to fulfill the domestic requirement. First of all, obviously, first you are going to look after yourself, then only you can serve the nation. If you have been asked for serving the economy, first you need to take care of yourself, about your health and about your educational skill, then only you will be in condition to serve the country. This is the condition, this is the exempted condition where WTO can allow you to ban or to restrict the trade policies. Getting my point? You should have a kind of prior conditions, or if you have to work for your domestic requirement fulfillment, if you have to fulfill the requirement of your domestic basis, or that is showing the shortfall in that would be applicable for the Indian policy or the framework. But India could have taken the advantage out of the situation if that would have helped the 25 African countries at the time of need. That would be unforgettable moment for the lifetime. We could have taken the advantage out of the situation. Getting my point? This is the prior possibility. What we are talking about here is, by this example, these are the top exporter of the wheat, and by this example you can understand these are the developed countries considered to be a better countries or the economy in term of even per capita segment. These are the better in better condition due to less population, but they do possess large production part, large supply in every basis. They do possess large supply in every basis, but they do not have people to absorb such a large supply. Getting my point? But they are lagging behind. They are lagging behind in their own market. Getting my point? This is large behind. You can take the example of such a big country. This is the world largest economy. You can consider it as US is the largest economy. US are already in that condition to produce every kind of segment, be it about industrial, just because of technical upgradation, be it about agrarian products, be it about service sector. It is providing a kind of prominent place in the entire world. But what is the problem with USA? They do not possess that much of huge market which developing countries specially possess. Getting my point? This is the only reason developed countries are required to have such a kind of dimension in order to explore, in order to absorb the demand out of this segment. Next point is all about production has increased, and globally India ranked 9th in the agricultural export. You are number 2 in the production part, but in case of export, you are playing the number 9th role in agricultural export. Obviously, wherever you are showing your export, wherever you are showing your specialization, you need to play a representative role in the global level. Okay, so in terms of production, you are coming under 2 in rank 2, but exporting in number 9th. I have already given the reason, because you already have your own domestic requirement on a huge basis. Significance, what kind of significance you can just talk about in agricultural sector. Agriculture sector, this it is not only making contribution in employment generation, but it is playing a kind of representative role in the global periphery. If you have to play a very amazing role in the world class level, you need to have your presence at the global scenario. Where you need to perform better, that is productivity part. Getting my point? You already possess the resources. Due to that resources basis, you are playing on number 2 in case of production part. But what about the productivity basis? You are not among the 10 nation, in top 10 nation if it comes to productivity basis. Getting my point? You do possess resources. Just because of those resources, you are able to produce production on number 2, but you do not possess that level of productivity part. What you should do over here is, in order to equip your domestic requirement, plus if you are expanding the productivity basis, you would be in that condition to export the production or export the supply towards the foreign countries, towards the global periphery. If you are upgrading your skills, you can just imagine why you are not able to do so. You should, Virendra, if you are a fresher, so you should start with the NCERT books. Okay, for the every segment, we are also planning to start the session on the NCERT. So you can go with those NCERT books. Plus NCERT, if after completion of the NCERT, do not forget, be in touch with the newspaper analysis if you do talk about economics. Getting my point? First of all, with respect to every subject, if you are on the basis of subjects, you should go for the NCERT, and newspaper would be the first priority. Be in touch with the newspaper analysis. You do not have, and try to make the chits for every day, and on Saturday, Sunday, revise the proportion, whatever you have studied for 6 to 7 days. And revision is the key of success. Then only you should move towards the reference book. Till then, you are not required to go for this segment. Getting my point? First of all, you have to be in touch with the newspaper and the NCERT book. Only after this segment, you should go for the reference book, because there are number of books which are required to read for every subject. And whatever optional subject you are taking, be in touch with that subject and try to be more comfortable or specialized in that subject, because that is going to occupy more time in that segment. Yes, lack of new technology, and there is 1 or 2 reasons also behind that. Generating the employment basis and makes the provision for the food for ever increasing population and the capital formation. Now, I am going to just let you know about the reason why we are so less in the productivity criteria. You need to know about the reason. Declining trend in productivity basis. You have to go for the exclusive pointers in that behalf. First of all, the basic reason what you can take here is double burden. Double burden on agriculture sector. Second point, what Aman is saying, that is lack of technology. Third is all about cropping pattern. Fourth, you need to know about, this is the first and foremost and the unique point, that is fragmented fragmented land holdings, which is disrupting the productivity immensely. I'm going to elaborate this point. Before going forward towards this point, first of all, we need to discuss about the first point, double burden of the agriculture sector. What is that double burden? You need to look at this double burden point. First, agriculture sector is required to fulfill the demands or requirement for survival. Second is to provide the employment. Getting my point? If you have such a huge population, yes, migration can also be a factor. You can take it as double burdensome. Why this is becoming a double burdensome or cumbersome factor on the agriculture sector? Because we are so much dependent. We are not only dependent for our survival basis on agriculture holding, but we do get ourselves dependent on the employment generation as well, which is already in our hand, which is in that condition to make a shift towards the other sector. Getting my point? Number two, lack of technology. Why we are not able to accommodate this second point, I am going to elaborate this with the help of fourth one. Number three, this is cropping pattern. We are going to discuss this in detail. We are going to discuss about the cropping pattern in detail. Before going forward towards the cropping pattern, you need to understand over here is that is all about, if you are, suppose I am just asking you, like Virendra has already asked me, what he has asked, what should be the proper basis I can start my preparation. And I have advised just to follow up NCERT books and make a schedule. Just follow that schedule and make a proper analysis in the end day. In the weekend you can talk about. Getting my point? What I am saying here is, he's just asking me about the booklet. Then he has to follow the schedule, and in the weekend he has to assess himself that where he is going. Is he really on the right track? How would he able to do so? He need to make the check and balance through the test or through making the proper analysis or the revision basis. He has to accommodate himself that whether I would be in condition to serve myself or not. Same thing goes with the agriculture sector. After analysis, what our agriculture sector is analyzing, that due to the cropping pattern, we are disrupting our productivity basis. You know why? Because we are following the monocropping culture, which is only growing the single crop on such a huge land, which can be equipped for more than one crop, more than two crop, which is reliable and the beneficial step for the productivity part. If you are keep shifting the cropping pattern of if you are cropping more than two crop, cultivating more than two crop, this is very healthy condition for the soil and the land perspectives. But we are not doing so. Just because everybody is making demand of wheat, rice, sugarcane, we are making the production in these crops and disrupting the land fertility. Just because they are giving the proper margin, just because they are providing or we are availing the benefit of minimum support price. That is why we are not moving towards the diversified nature. Instead of going for that, we are continuously making our focus on the monocropping, where we are getting the more margin, where we are getting the minimum support price, only there we are going to make the investment on. It is nothing but making the disruption on the land, which is not going to serve the people, which is not going to serve people for the longer term. or on the sustainable basis. If we are disrupting our natural resources are going to disrupt us sooner or later on a shorter leg. Number 4, we can understand the point fragmented. What do you mean by the fragmented productivity part? You need to understand. I am not just letting you know about the proper point. Whatever things I consider it unique, it as the unique, only those pointers you have to note it down. Fragmented land I am talking about. What do you mean by the fragmented land? These are the fragmented land. If you are continuously making the division in the land scenario, this is the fragmented land. This is the fragmented land. Okay. What we are looking at the scenario, that is it is continuously making the subdivision of these land holding as well, or it is occupying approximately 86.2% holdings for small and marginal farmers. Can you just let me know how much land they occupy if we do talk about small and marginal farmers? How much hectare they are in position to hold land? Fragmented lands are just because of this. 86.2% people are coming under the category of small and marginal farmers, occupying the 47.4% land. Getting my point? Or you have already come across the agricultural census. In the time lag of 5 years, you get to know about the agriculture census. We have already assessed the census, that is in number 11th in 2022. Getting my point? Just before 7 to 8 days before, I have discussed about the 11th agricultural census, where you can just imagine that you have seen the fragmented land continue to increase. Number 2, just because of fragmented land, you are disrupting what? Productivity part. Why is it so? Because of lack of supply. Lack of supply. Are you really in condition to serve such a small plot of land? Are you really in condition to purchase a tractor just for 1 or 2 hectare land holdings? You are not at all in condition. This is the basic reason why you have not uplifted yourself in terms of technology, because this is not at all affordable for the small and marginal farmer, which occupy a major proportion in the agriculture sector. This is only the reason we are disrupting on the agriculture productivity part. Number 2, I have already talked to you about the cropping pattern. If you are just changing your pattern, if you are just changing your schedule for the education or for the studies, or that is coming up with the output or outcome, like if you are just changing your schedule for the studies or you are getting the output out of it, then it would be considered as the productive part. Getting my point? If what I'm saying over here is, I'm just asking you for the schedule, or you are just telling me in the weekend that, ma'am, I am not able to get the best result in this week. I don't know why. I would suggest you to change your schedule. Just come across one best subject which is in interest and which is going to be weakness for you. You need to get along 2 subjects simultaneously. Whatever subject is favorite, and along with the subject which is your weakness. Favorite subject is going to push you, and weak subject is going to let you know about that. At least I know this much. These are going to be the motivational signs which is going to keep you motivated. You are only the one who can motivate yourself for the sustainable basis. No one else is going to do so. This is what we are talking about the agriculture sector. First, you need to serve the land. Only then land will serve you on the sustainable basis. First, you need to care about the land holdings, then only land holdings are going to care about you. If you'll keep destructing the land by divisibility of the land, then they will not be in condition to purchase such a huge inputs. Like if I am purchasing 1 kg potato, or you are purchasing 10 kg potato, who is going to get the cheaper prices? Who is going to access the cheaper accumulation of the prices? You are going to take it because you are taking or purchasing it on the bulk basis. If I am purchasing 1 kg, that is such a short volume, and that is the basis through which it is making the increase in the cost scenario. Large holdings, or the large entrepreneurs, or the large agrarian farmers, why they can well equip the agriculture sector? Because they are in condition to purchase the tractors, they are in condition to purchase the technical outputs or inputs, they are in condition to serve or produce large production. And in order to serve large production, they have to purchase inputs in bulk. So they'll be getting the things on cheaper proportion in comparison to the smaller farmer. If they are purchasing less input, that would be more expensive for them. Getting my point? If that is more expensive inputs, if those inputs are more expensive for smaller marginal farmers, obviously cost is going to go up, going to be up. If cost is up, prices would go up. So hereby you are just talking about the small and marginal farmer, or that is occupying 86.2%, man. This is such a huge proportion you are holding, or these holding are disrupting the land scenario. That is why we are losing the base on the productivity immensely. Next point, supply of the raw material to the agro-based industries. You can talk about influence on the internal and external complex commerce and the greater competitive advantage. Why you are not able to make the advantage? Just because of productivity part, you can take it as. कंप्यूटर साइंस है आप first if you are making yourself prepare for the subjects, the moment you will start reading about the subjects NCERT, you will get to know what subjects just giving a kind of essence of interest in yourself. Whatever is making you happy, or whatever is giving you a kind of feeling for the specialization, you can opt for the subject. Getting my point? In whatever subject you are making interest in, you can opt for the subject. First of all, you need to go for the reading. Have a reading for the NCERT books, have a reading for the reference books. You will get to know in which subject you are interested in. Then only you go or proceed further. Getting my point? Greater competition can only be inculcated through the large production, which could be possible through the large farmers. Number two, if there is large production, that is going to inculcate less cost. If there is less cost, prices would be less, which is not at all achievable, which is disrupting the base for the small or marginal farmers. Getting my point? So, in order to make the greater competitive scenario, you need to know about the second meaning of competitiveness. You need to make the accessibility. This is more or less should be accessible in nature plus cheaper in nature. Cheaper. These two are the characteristics for the competitive advantage. You would be in condition to spread the greater competitive advantage only when you would expand the base for the productivity part, and that your image in the world, that you are the second largest producer of the agriculture production, you can also serve the nation on the number 1 or 2 in terms of export as well, if you will produce if you are increasing or exploring the productivity basis, you can expand the range towards the FDI. And FDI, like foreign investment, could be done. That could just let you know about the perspective. How can we expand the basis for productivity part? How can we work on that segment? Cooperative farming should, yes, cooperative farming should be encouraged, and there should be ban on the other parts, like if small or marginal farmers are not in condition to move towards the other crops, so there should be restriction for the large farmers, because they are already in condition to serve or to produce any crop whatever they like. And MSP should be prevail, or the infrastructure basis should be expanded. If we are making investment in the agriculture by the foreign investors, that could enhance the productivity basis. How come we know about the productivity expansion through the countries which are really doing so good in the in the world economy, and Indian economy could take the advantage out of those economy. Let's have the example regarding those economy. I'm getting the name of Israel, who is doing so good. You can take the example for Singapore. These countries are doing so good in terms of agricultural production just because of technical upgradation. If you can take the help from these countries, you would be able to, or you would be accessible to grab the large production, and can provide a kind of opportunity for the large producer that yes, you can make the export of whatever productivity you are making expansion in. Suppose I used to produce 100 units just because of technical upgradation or the upliftment in the technology. I would be able to serve 200 units. Earlier, what I used to produce is 100 units. Now I am producing 200. Whatever change I am acquiring, whatever 100 units I am getting out of the advantage, I can take the advantage out of that 100 unit. I can make export towards the global scenario. Nobody is going to talk about that large farmers has served the global economy. They are going to talk about, yes, India is exporting to the other countries. You can be considered as the representative. You can play a major role in that segment. Yes, export linked incentive should be given. Production linked incentive should be given in the agriculture sector. Recent contribution of agriculture to Indian economy. Recent contribution of agriculture to the Indian economy. India is world's largest producer. World's largest producer, and export the milk to the countries like Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan, and UAE and Afghanistan. Still we are lagging. We are not able to serve our domestic requirements. Still we are not in condition, or we are not having that much of capacity to serve the domestic requirement fully. Even if we consider ourselves as the largest producer in the milk. Characteristics of the Indian economy, characteristics and the features of Indian economy. This can be considered as a source of livelihood. We are so much showing the dependence on the livelihood. Dependence on the monsoon. I have told you about the export, why we have banned the export of wheat. You can take the example. Suppose if you have been given the answer, like means answer writing, you are making the yourself prepare. Means answer writing practice. In that case, first of all, you need to make the introductory part with the help of current update. Suppose if any question is accommodating the agricultural component, you need to first address the current output. The way, if I've been asked for the dependence on the monsoon, I can give the example regarding the export ban. Why India has forced to ban the export of the wheat. The reason being climate. The reason being it was the double temperature which was disrupting the productivity basis. Even our domestic requirement by that supply wouldn't be in condition to get served. Getting my point? So you can give such kind of current updates. If you know so far regarding the topic, you should keep in mind that that should be relevant to that topic at least. So agriculture, this is the basis for the livelihood. Second, we are having so much of dependence on the monsoon. Obviously, if the only food and beverages, why you get to see the fluctuations in the price level of such segment? Just because of this reason, because things are so fluctuating on behalf of climate. If we do talk about every agrarian economy, Indian economy is agrarian, but beyond our economy, even on the world economy, on the world horizon, many of the countries are on agrarian basis. Whatsoever economy is on agrarian basis, they are so fluctuating in nature. Why is it so? Because climate keep fluctuating. This should be in our hand. Whatever approaches we could opt in order to maximize the output and minimize the risk factor, we should opt for that in order to minimize the fluctuation, because fluctuation is leading to the disruption in many of the countries. Just the way we have seen in case of African countries, 25 countries which has gone from the famine condition just because of pandemic, or in that pandemic and the innovation scenario, they are showing so much of reliability or so much of dependence on the other countries. This was only the basis. So we should not be so much of dependent on the other countries. Underemployment, you need to make the emphasis on the disguise factor. Next, underemployment means disguise factor, like you would only require 20 farmers, but you have employed how much? 35 farmers. In order to complete my task on this particular land, I would require only 20 farmers, but I have employed 35 farmers because I am known about the fact that 15 farmers do not have any other work than to do this particular task. So in this kind of scenario, inadequate irrigation facilities, in such kind of scenario, the certainty are fluctuations are disrupting their lives as well. Agriculture production is getting affected by the climatic condition. This is for sure. That is disrupting the production part, but this is also disrupting the lives of many families. You know why? Because livelihood is totally dependent on the agricultural production. If you are not earning out of the production, you would be in danger condition. So that is what we are talking about continuously. Labor intensive cultivation. Why is it so labor intensive cultivation? This is so because this fragmented area which has been occupied by 86.2% farmers. Or what are those farmers? That is related to marginal or small farmers. These are related to marginal and small farmers. Are they in condition to purchase new machinery? Are they in condition to make upliftment in the technology? No. So they would prefer to do work manually. If they are doing work manually, they would require more and more labors to accomplish their task. This is the basic reason. Okay. So you need to ask the question first, are they in condition? Are they in condition to purchase machinery or making upliftment in technology? No. Why is it so? Lack of resources could be the reason behind it. So that they prefer to work manually. Okay, what is the difference between product? Very nice question. Suppose if you have resources, production, like if you have 20 input, you would be able to produce 100 unit out of it. 100 unit out of it with the help of 20 inputs. Okay. If you would purchase 5 inputs more, you would be in condition to produce 25 more units. Are you in that condition or not? Just because you have more resources. If you have more resources, you would be in that condition to produce more. This is your production basis. This is your production basis. This is your production. But if you are doing work on continue basis, suppose you are studying your book. In the initial time, you get to take approximately 2 hours to complete a chapter for 6th or 7th, suppose. In the very initial time I am talking about. But with the passing time, or as you are studying regularly, you have increased the pace of your productivity. You are now completing that chapter within 40 to 50 minutes. You have reduced the time level, and within that time lag, you would be able to accomplish other tasks. So you are expanding your own specialization. If you would be in that condition to squeeze the input level to the such extent which could expand this basis. If you are producing from the 20 inputs, you would be in condition to produce more than 100 units. If you are in condition to produce more than 100 units just because of your skill, just because of tractors, just because of technical outcomes, just because of machinery, that would be counting in the productivity part. I can take one more example in it. Suppose if you are taking the example of any fruit, if you are taking the example of any fruit and you are taking the juice out of that fruit manually, if you are taking the juice out of that fruit manually, or in this condition you are using the juicer, okay, where would you be able to exploit the resources thoroughly? Where you are exploiting the resources completely, in case of juice or in case of manual work? You need to analyze that. In both the cases, you are using 2 mango. In both the cases, you are using 2 mango. This is your input. This is your input. But in case of mechanical case, juicer is a mechanical output, no? It is a mechanical outlay, or it is a mechanical medium you are applying to get juice. That is going to entail more and more production. That is going to entail more and more output in comparison to the manual work. whatever you are squeezing those two mangoes with the help of hands, if you are taking it out manually, it wouldn't be able to give as best result as juicer can intell it. Are you able to figure out the difference between these two? In this condition, within the medium of two mangoes, we can acquire more and more result out of it. But in case of manual assessment, you wouldn't be able to get the result out of it. Same condition goes for the agricultural production. If you are using the help of harvesting machine on one land, or on other land, if you are taking the help of 5 to 10 people, who is going to intell more production, who is going to show the efficiency over the agricultural production? Obviously, harvesting machine is going to intell the more production over it. Getting my point? This is the basic difference in the same. Okay? Wherever you are using your skill, if you have start working on in the less time, wherever you have upgraded yourself, you got specialization by doing the work continuously, plus you are using the mechanical output, plus you are using your tricks and techniques. Would you be able to get any trick on the very initial level? No. If you are continue to do work on the regular basis, on the 10th or 15th day, you would be able to change the mind. I would be able to use this such and such technique to get the best result. You can do so. Obviously, that could be equipped only in case when your things are going on the regular track, or that tricks and tactics would be considered under the productivity part. That manual assessment has been done on the production basis. Next point, small size holding I have told you about, and dominance of the food crops, dominance because you are getting the MSP on it. Wherever you are getting the minimum support prices, you will get to see the majority role, which is disrupting the diversification. You should focus on, like especially to the large farmers, should focus on the other crops as well. Just because they are not given the MSP, you are not producing that, which is making the impact on the land holdings. If this land is suitable, for rice, and you are continuously making the production of wheat, this is not good. You are suitable for maths and you are studying history. This is not going to be suitable for you. You are not going to intell the productivity part. You will clear that exam. There is no doubt in it. But your productivity would only rise in the field where you are interested in. Same goes for the land. If you are good at the rice production and you are continuously making production in the wheat, that is going to disrupt what? Land. You need to focus on such kind of criterias. So what we are talking about here is food crops. There is dominance of food crop just because we are getting the MSP on that time lag. Yes, you can take it as productivity. How we can expand the production basis? You just have to use the 20 units over here in first condition and 20 units in this condition. Suppose small farmers are taking the use of 20 units and large are also taking the use of 20 units. But you would get to know these large farmers are in condition to purchase the harvesting machine, trucks, mechanical outputs, fertilizers, insecticides, pesticides. They are in condition to purchase all these things. By availing these kind of resources or inputs, they would be in condition to uplift the production more than 100. More than 100 they would be in condition to produce. But this was not in case with the small farmers because they do not afford to get harvesting machine, any machinery. Fertilizers are so expensive, especially in case of Ukraine or Russian crisis. This was the major factor. Small farmers are getting impact on it. And why there is so much of dominance of the food cropping, I have already told you about. Pattern is cause of backward. Challenges. What are the challenges? What are the challenges of Indian agriculture? Instability. Obviously, what I have talked you about it, there is a number of reason for this instability part. First of all, you are so much dependent on the climatic condition. You cannot make a command over the climatic condition, first of all. Second, making dependence. You are so much making dependence on other nation, on other economies. Sub example, you can take edible oils or dependence on inputs, example fertilizers. If you have so much of dependence on other countries, obviously any kind of disruption, instability, if there is due to the world affair, there is going to be result on your country as well. Okay. Cropping pattern I have told you about. If you are studying on regular pattern or you are not getting result out of that pattern, you should change the pattern of study. If you are changing that pattern, you will get the efficient result. If you are just changing the pattern of your study or schedule, if you are making a change in the schedule or that is uplifting the productivity, like result has expanded from 50 to 80 marks, means your productivity has increased just because of changing in pattern. That thing same goes for the agriculture part. If you are in condition, make the change in the cropping pattern, do so in order to expand the productivity part. The way you are making so much of dependence on the food crop, you should shift that focus towards the commercial crop as well, towards the fruit cropping, horticulture crops as well, in order to make the diversification on the land so that fertility revival could come into the picture. Land ownership, I have already told you about. Subdivision, fragmented land, this is one of the core reason you should know about it, and you should be in condition that how much farmers are there in this category. This is majority farmers, and how much land holding is there. You need to know about it. Condition of agricultural laborers. Condition of agricultural labor. I have already told you about. Cropping system. What is cropping system? Type and sequence of crop you are growing. There is difference between cropping pattern and system. System. The word system goes for the management part. Management. How you are managing the thing. So, refer to the type and the sequence of crop grown practices used for growing the same. Type of the cropping and what is the sequence. This is the cropping system. Getting my point? Available technology of the crop production over the space, time, based, everything. Type you should be known. Pattern you should be aware of. Pattern is the part. It's a small part in the system. Second, time. How much the time lag is there between the shifting of pattern, and should have the traditional structure to maximize the crop yield. Cropping pattern, it's a dynamic concept, change over the space and time. Pattern, what crops we are growing over the space and time. Within the time lag of 6 months or the 3 months, these are the time lag. And over the space, what space is required to grow what crop. Yearly sequence and arrangement of sowing, fallow on a given area. Pattern determined by the rainfall, climatic condition. These are going to determine the pattern which crop is to be grown. Getting my point? Which crop is to be cultivated. These are the basic factors on which factors cropping pattern do make dependence on. Those are rainfall, climatic conditions, temperature, soil. Soil is going to determine the crop Are you eligible enough to make the cultivation of this particular point? Technology that is going to raise the productivity part. So, what are the basic difference between the two? I have already talked to you about majority farmers, given area. What given area of technology you have to cultivate with the management in time and space. Time and space are the basic indicators. You can just make the assurity of pattern. If you do talk about system, you need to know about the management, what management you are following to derive the benefit out of the resources based under the specific environmental condition. And cropping pattern used on the farmers, their interaction with the farm resources. Like whatever cropping pattern are you following, would they compatible enough with the environmental perspective or not? Are they using the available technology? If they are using the available technology, whatever level of resources you are using, you are exploiting the resources thoroughly. Suppose if you are working on one resource, suppose you do possess a car. If you are driving a car, you have purchased a car and driving a car. Or after 5 to 4 years, you have realized that I have worked on this car more than enough. Then it would be a kind of a satisfied result for you just because you have utilized that car thoroughly. In other case, you can take the example, if you have purchased the car, you have not make the proper utilization of that car, plus you are not getting the proper prices if you are selling that product. Like if you are selling the car or you are not getting the good prices on that car, even if you have drive less, in that condition you are getting less. Same thing goes with the environmental condition. Environment provides, planet provides number of resources to the humanity, but we are not disrupting and we are not utilizing the resources thoroughly. We are leaving the resources underutilized, which is not satisfying the planet. If we are not satisfying the planet, that is going to disrupt the humanity. This is all about the natural resources, which is going to play a key role on sustainable basis. You can play a role on shorter leg, you can expand the productivity on shorter leg, but who is going to play for long run? That is only planet. So we need to keep the planet happier by exploiting the resources thoroughly, by providing the green technology, by using the environmental aspects into considerations. Then only we can go for the long run. That is what we are talking about. So this is all about management, making the management which should be in compliance with the environmental perspective. Like available technology, why technology is always beneficial from the economical point of view? Because technology would always encourage the resources to be utilized thoroughly. You are utilizing the resources thoroughly. This is the major perspective. Pattern take for the given piece of land, order and cultivated on the piece of land at a fixed period. With soil management and the consideration of the environmental aspect has to be included in the system. And pattern is all about time and space you are growing the crop. This is taking this is all about management. This is all about the environmental resources, how you are making the utilization of. Is there any other way which can contribute more production? If this is so, you have to go for that method. Next point, current agricultural crop situation. Current agricultural crop situation in India. India is world second largest producer of both rice and wheat. I have told you about, but still we are not making export of wheat, but of rice in a good quantity. Wheat rabi crop is planted on around 30 million hectare harvest stood at 10. You are not required to use the facts, but you can take a average. What is happening so far? Look at the condition. Agriculture marketing is very, very important and crucial in order to give a push to the farmers nowadays. FCI is helping us from assembling to the distribution process. What is FCI? Food Corporation of India have contributed not only in the harvest size but also bargaining public stocks of 2 fine cereals. Getting my point? Annual hike in MSP. If you are giving a push to the farmers, if you are giving push to the farmers, what you can just imagine out of the situation, that if you are pushing the farmers, they will produce more, just because you are providing more income to them, or if you are providing the more income to them, they'll produce more or increase in the harvest size. And who is going to assess that part? That is Food Corporation of India. And one thing more, you are continuously making the upliftment. Where you are making the upliftment, you need to know about that segment. What is that segment? First of all, we have to study about that. Like, if you are talking about FCI, Food Corporation of India. This industry is labor intensive. First of all, you can make a shift of agriculture, labor intensive industry can make a shift of agriculture labor towards this segment. Second, this is all about assembling Assembling means accumulation of the production. Whatever production I have produced, whatever things I have harvested, I have produced, I have to accumulate. I have to accumulate at one place. After the accumulation, I need to know about the grading pattern. I need to make the division. Okay, I need to make the division. That such and such crops has to provide the grade pattern A, B, C, D in such way. This is the qualitative, other one is not. In that segment, you need to provide. After that, you have to provide the standards, which has to be kept in what way? Because potato would require different temperature in comparison to the tomato. Every crop do possess different pattern to be under. That is what we are talking about. First of all, assembling, then we have to provide the grading, standardization, then the price determination and distribution. This is how the process of agriculture marketing goes. Agriculture marketing process goes. What we are trying to make it as, we are trying to make it e-platform. We have to use the e-platform just to explore and make it accessible. Make it accessible. If you are making it accessible, or which would become cheaper. If you are providing the things cheaper, that would automatically becomes accessible. Good morning, Vimlesh. Okay, this is such a normal thing. What is the agriculture marketing thing? You are accumulating the resources, you are taking the production at a one place, then you have to divide those production and provide the grading and provide a kind of standardization norm, because every crop, every product require a different kind of a surrounding or temperature to be under. Number 3, accordingly, you have to determine the quality basis A, B, C. In such way, you have to provide the quality basis the way you are doing so at the time of trade, at the time of export. Whenever you are sending the products in the international market, you have to anyhow make the proceedings regarding the qualitative assessments, just because you are representing in the international horizon. In the same way, you have to make the assessment quality to the more and more segments. Make the things accessible. And how would you make the things accessible? By providing the commodity at the cheaper rate. That could be accommodated by the e-platform. Kharif, Rabi and Zaid. You can take the example as I was talking about the cropping pattern. In that cropping pattern, I have come across the agriculture marketing. Agriculture marketing has come across different kind of qualitative measures which is deciding the price, and that is delivering the products to the ultimate customers. Kharif, monsoon crop, it is high water requirement. You can have a look at the condition. You would require approximately 4 to 5,000 liter water for the 1 kg rice. You can imagine how much water you are making the uses of in these type of cropping. You would require immense water for the kharif crop, especially for the rice. Plus, you are making the export of such crops. This is not only you are making the export of rice, but also the water uses. But in the same time, you are the best producer, second best producer of the wheat. Still, you are not making export of that crop, as that is also considered as the essential crop. You can write it down that Kharif crop, what is all about Kharif crop: rice, maize, jowar, bajra, soyabean, cotton. Rabi is wheat, barley, gram, peas, mustard, etc. And Zaid is all about the watermelon, muskmelon, cucumber, fodder crops and the vegetables. Okay, this is all about the particular stratum. What is the time lag? Kharif crop is from July, October during the south west monsoon, and the Rabi is from the October. Slight changes are there in the transformation, and whatever temperature we used to incur at the time lag when these definition has been formed, we have gotten a kind of slight changes in those decorums, in the standards and in the temperature. Why we have banned the wheat production? Just because of climatic changes, just because temperature was above 40 degrees Celsius. This has disrupted the productivity part. In the same way, these decorum you need to keep in mind. Kharif crop require a good level of rainfall structure, and what is the time lag of arrival, and what kind of time for the Rabi, you need to know about it. You need to have proper states in the mind regarding the Rabi crop. What are those states? Rabi crop, where you can find, especially if you are talking about the Rabi crop, some of the Rabi crops are wheat, barley, peas. Especially they are talking about the northern territory. Availability of precipitation is good in the southeastern states. If you do talk about in the south region of India, that is having the availability of precipitation at good level, so you can consider the Kharif crop for the segment of south. Paddy have become most important crop of Punjab and Haryana. These are the states which are producing the crop forcefully. you can take it as. And productivity criteria and uses of inputs are such a huge on volume basis. Getting my point? What I'm saying here is, if you're talking about paddy, if you have to use only 10 units for the production, but you are using at the range of 50 units, like many of the wastage or resources are getting waste in the Punjab and Haryana. It is just like you are good for the history, but going for the geography. It is just like that. Southern states like Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, they actually having the preference, or they actually having a kind of decorum just to produce such kind of crop. But Haryana and Punjab are producing this just in order to grab the MSP benefit. Next type, food crop, you can take the example of 75% of the plantation, 75% of the dominance in the Indian economy with respect to the agriculture sector was of food grain, just because you are getting the MSP on it. Commercial crop, what are the crops of related to the commercial? Grown for the selling purpose. Cotton, you are exporting, you are number one exporter in the entire world if it comes through the textile industry. Plantation, crop grown on the plantation covering the large estate. Tea, coffee, you can take it as. Horticulture, fruits and vegetables, section of the agriculture in which fruits and vegetables are grown, and they are rotten on the huge amount just because you do not possess a good level of procurement facilities. Because these are perishable enough, increasing the productivity by exploit. Yes. If you do talk about any state, you are not like, we can consider it as the resources. If we are considering about our states, if we are making the comparison with the world average, we are lagging behind in every segment. It is not about any state. It is about the productivity part as a whole. Getting my point? We are in condition to use only 10 to 20 units, but still we are making the uses of 40 to 50. That is the point. Or every sector nowadays are working hard to show the productivity part. That is what we are trying to make the point over here. Monocropping and mixed cropping, we have already talked about. Monocropping is what? Monocropping, growing one agricultural species at a time in agricultural land. This was the pattern I was talking about. This should not be the pattern. If you are only growing one crop just because people are demanding for it, you are neglecting the fertility of the soil and destroy the structure of the soil. This is the core part which is going to entail the production forever. Number two, mixed cropping, when two or more crops are grown on equivalent land simultaneously. What we are talking about here is mixed cropping. Mixed cropping means many of the crops you are using that is increasing the level of fertility and do not destroy the fertility basis and the health of the soil. When we are growing more than two crops, no, that is going to raise the fertility part and the soil segment of the land horizon. But if you are only growing one crop, that is going to play a reducing role, reducing the fertility of the soil and destroy the structure of the soil. Okay. Intercropping, when you are just passing on the circle, is the practice of growing quite one crop on an equitable field at equitable time. You are growing one crop at a time. This is a kind of intercropping, cropping rotation. For this time lag, this 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, you are growing wheat. Next time you are growing rice. After that you are growing sugarcane. Such kind of a crop rotation you get to see in that scenario. That is going to inculcate and increase the base for the productivity part. Such kind of scenario you get to see in the You are looking at the lining pattern of the crop at a time, single crop. This is the monocropping, which is so destructible for the agricultural production, disrupting the soil fertility. Okay, this is all about the agriculture segment, agricultural sector. We are going to discuss the industrial and service sector in the next session whenever we have to deal with. First, I'm taking a glance of the agriculture sector in a short basis in a just 5 to 6 minute. I am going to take a glance what all we have studied so far. About the agriculture sector, what you need to know about, these are the basic facts. You need to work on it. First of all, biggest exporter of cotton, you are already aware about. Second is all about, you are the second largest product in the agricultural production, but number 9 in the export part. What are those basic crops? You need to know about it, and you rank in service and industry, that is 9th and 5th respectively. This is the one of the most prominent sector. You are producing on number 2 but exporting on number 9th. Why is it so? Because you already possess the market base. You do not require any other market to send your products. If you have such a huge population, you do require requirement basis. You do have on your own. You are not required to have other population. Just like Russia, USA, they would require more and more demand from the other nation. They are making dependence for the market space. They would require any other countries because they are supplying on the larger base, but they do not have such a huge population, such a huge requirement or demand to fulfill or to absorb such a huge production part. These are the domestic. I have told you about the WTO norm cannot impose any kind of restriction on the trade. Exemptions would only lie in a condition when we do have to fulfill the domestic requirement or we have to give the proper excuses. And these agriculture sector is so much important. And what are the challenges before it? That is double burden for the sake of survival and the employment basis. Second is all about technology. Why this lagging is there in the technological form? Don't we have that much of resources or money to make ourselves equipped? No, this is not so. We do possess 86.2% small or marginal farmers, or we have to equip those farmers. If we do have to equip those farmers, you need to keep the things into mind. They do not have that much of money, but large farmers do possess that much of resources that they can equip the technological part, but they are less in number. Cropping pattern is all about whatever cropping pattern you are following. If some kind of changes is there in the cropping pattern, or that could entail the transformation in the productivity part, you can just take a way out. Fragmented land holding, which is disrupting the productivity part immensely. I've told you about this method, and the census, 11 census has already been accommodated. We are number 1 in milk production. These are the characteristics. Underemployment, you need to look at the disguised unemployment. Disguised unemployment means we do require only 20 people but employing 35 people. As they are so much dependent on the agriculture sector, they do not have other way to go. And I have written about these farmers. Are they in condition to purchase machine or making upliftment in the technology part? No. Just because of lack of resources, therefore they prefer to work manually. I have just given the reason for the labor, why this is so employment generating sector. Okay, I have given the definition or the reason for the productivity part in this scenario. Small holdings, what you can look at is small fragmented. I am talking about low agricultural production. There is a low agriculture production with respect to your resources. Getting my point? They are talking about the productivity aspect. In that way, agricultural production is relatively low. Dominance, I have already told, 75% cultivated area is under food crop and 25 cultivated is under the commercial crops. Pattern is cause of backward agriculture, as it is disrupting not only the fertility but destroying the soil pattern. Land tenure, condition of the agricultural labors. Then I have told you about the system and pattern. What are the difference between pattern? You need to keep the two words into mind, that is about time and space, how much space you have occupied for what leg of time. And system is all about environmental destructibility, environmental uses, whatever resources which has been provided by the planet, you need to use it thoroughly. If you are using it thoroughly, you have to manage the scenario in that way. Such kind of management has been talked in the system. Current agricultural crop situation, I have already talked about it. Rabi, MSP. Food corporation, you need to know about the proper steps from the assembly segment to the distribution. First, you need to make the assembling of the resources, then you can go for first assembly, second is for the standardization and the grading. Then only you can move towards the price determination that could entail the result for the distribution criteria, because on the basis of price pattern, people are going to purchase the product. What thing you are required to do over here is you need to expand the base of accessibility, which could be achievable in case of where this is achievable only through the medium of e-platform, the way e-NAM we usually talk about. I've told about these crops and the pattern here you need to keep in mind. And these are the states: precipitation, rice growing regions, Assam, West Bengal, coastal regions especially, paddy crops also importantly, also means Haryana and Punjab is also doing in that segment. Even if in case of sugarcane, there is content and quality would be better if we do talk about the southern periphery, southern states, because sucrose content would be higher in that territory, in that coastal area, that is yielding on the qualitative basis. They yield on the higher basis. Quality would be nice in that case. Okay, food grain, commercial crops, this is for 75%, this is for 25%, or these are in less quantity. Like they are just trying to tell you this much portion or this much proportion has been handled by the food grain. Just because of MSP you are being provided. This is disrupting the pattern. If you are disrupting the cropping pattern, this is ultimately disrupting the structure of the soil and the fertility of the soil. This is not going to get along for long. Intercropping and the cropping pattern. Crop classified based on the time they are rotated 1 year. If you are making the crop rotation, this is again going to inculcate the productivity aspect. This is the monocropping. If you are like this is the monocropping or this is intercropping. If you are growing, if you are cultivating, harvesting the crop in this way, single crop in a pattern, or this is the lineage and the time space pattern, these two patterns are not at all good for the productivity part. Okay, in the next session, this session has to be proceeded by the Sonia ma'am of history. After this, and industry and services we are going to discuss in the next lecture. Okay, thank you so much till here. If you have any doubt, you can put the comment on it, and you can ask any problem or any topic. If you want me to start, I can start with the subjects. Okay, you can just let me know the requirement of yours. I'll start with the same topic in 1 or 2 days in my upcoming lectures. You can just give the recommendation, what lectures on what topic you would require the lecture. I will prepare the lecture accordingly. Okay, next lecture would be on industries and services, what kind of a strata and structural basis you get to see in case of industrial basis, why we are lagging behind in case of industrial transformation and the services. Yes, very true. It is all about, we are going to study about the manufacturing sector in detail, and I am going to just let you know how the agriculture burden could be relaxed if manufacturing would be upgraded. We are going to just study on these aspects thoroughly. Thank you so much. Have a great day to all of you.